Hi Queens, my name is Ruthie and you're welcome to this channel. I know you've been seeing this style and wondering how to make it. So let's go ahead and get this started. I've made a few alterations to mine. So this is going to be the pattern drafting video, and the part 2 is going to be uploaded within the next few hours, hopefully. So please let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I folded the front. The front is supposed to be cut on fold. So I folded the front by my bust divided by 2 plus 2 inches. Now that's also the same measurement I used for the back, just that the back is one single paper and the front is on fold. So if you see my paper, you can see that there's one part that is folded and one part that is not folded. And for me, the bust is 34 divided by 2 is 17 plus 2 is 19. 19 divided by 2 is 9.5, and so I have 10 for the front on fold, that is 20, and then 10 for the back, which is not on fold. Now I've gone ahead to put my shoulder divided by 2, as you're seeing, or the shoulder we're going to be using for this, divided by 2, which is 14 divided by 2, which is 7. I've taken a neck width of 4 inches by 1 inch for the back and 4 inches by 3 inches for the front. Now I'm going to go ahead and be drafting the basic bodice. So Queens, if you don't really understand what I'm doing here, I'm going to link a video in my description box that leads you to a detailed video on how to draft a basic bodice, which I did some months ago. I trust that will help you understand what I'm doing further if you are yet to understand what I'm doing here. So at this point, I was just entering in the lines, and that is the bust line, the underbust, and the waistline for the front, and then of course, the back is shorter than the front by 2 inches. That's the difference between this person's pattern, back and front. So that is why you can see that the waistline for the back stopped higher than that of the front. Now I just went ahead to draw my line, slant my shoulder. Again, if you've not seen that video, please see it. It's going to help you really understand what I did here. In case you have any questions, please ask your questions in the comment section as well, and I'll be willing to answer them. Now, to determine your armhole, we're starting from the back. You're going to divide from your shoulder slant to your chest line and divide it by 2. That's measure from your shoulder slant to your chest line and divide it by 2. Mark that point. Then use your curved ruler to extend your shoulder line from up to the chest line. Come in by half an inch. You can see that I used the curved ruler to just do that instead of drawing the line, because I didn't want too much lines on this pattern. Come in by half an inch. Measure your bust divided by 4 on the chest line. Then you're going to take your curve and place it to touch your shoulder slant, the midpoint line, the midpoint you've marked, and then your bust divided by 4 on your chest line, and draw out your armhole. This is your back armhole. Now for your front armhole, you're going to go up from your chest line by 3 inches, and then you're going to mark that. Then you're going to go ahead and still place your curved ruler to use it to extend your shoulder line to your chest line, so you have a straight line. Then on that midpoint that you've marked, that's the 3 inches, you're going to go in by 0.75 inch, and then you're going to use your curve to place it in a way that the 3 points are touching the curve. Your third point is your bust divided by 4 on your chest line. You place your curve in a way that the 3 points are touching the curve, and then you're going to go ahead and draw out your armhole. Now can you just see how perfect that armhole looks? I just love how this looks. So Queens, we're going to be going on to the next step. Of course, at this point you're going to be entering your bust span line, because we're going to be adding our darts. Your bust span divided by 2 on your bust line, on your underbust, and on your waistline. And then you're also going to do that on the back, but we're coming to the back. Let's do the front first. So you're going to draw that line straight down into your waistline, which is the end of this pattern, because it's a half scale block, right? And we're attaching a skirt to it to make it a dress. So on your waistline, I'm sorry this was out of the camera, but on your waistline you take out 0.5 inch on both sides, or 0.75 inch. For me, I use 0.75 inch on both sides. You take it out from the midline, which is your bust span divided by 2, and then you're going to connect back to your bust line using your straight ruler or the straight point of your curve. Now on the bust line, you're taking your bust divided by 4, you're taking your waist divided by 4. Again, I'm sorry that this went out of the camera, but if you want to understand this, please watch the video that is linked in my description box on how to draft a basic scale and basic bodice half scale. I hope that this helps you. So at this point, I'm going to be connecting my lines. At this point, you can go ahead and connect your lines, but for me, I went ahead on the back. So on the waistline, I came in by my back tightening because our back is not straight, and if you leave that, your zipper is going to have a bulge. So I went in by 0.75 inch on the waistline, and I connected it straight up to my neckline, as you can see. So queens, at this point, I went ahead to take the bust span divided by 2 on the waistline from the tightening line, because this is your new back center back line. So from the tightening line, I drew that up, and then I connected my darts by 0.5 inch on both sides. I came down from the chest line by 1 inch, and so you do this, you just go ahead and connect to that 1 inch from the chest line all your dart points that you've taken. So queens, you're going to measure from your back tightening line your waist divided by 4, and then you're going to add your 1 inch, replace your darts by 1 inch, and then you're going to add the 0.75 used for back tightening, and then you're going to, on the chest line, you can see that there's half an inch there because of the back tightening we did. So you're going to add that back to your chest line on the armhole area, and then you're going to connect. So queens, you're going to connect your lines, and you can see that I'm using the curved part of my ruler to connect the lines on the side, not the straight part. You can see that I added half an inch on the chest line. That is for ease. So you go ahead and you connect your lines. So queens, we're going to be going ahead with our underbust tightening, and at this point, you're going to come to your underbust line and measure what you have between your side seam line and your demarcating line for the back and the front. That's the line that separates the back and the front, and whatever you have. For me, I had 1.25 at the end of everything, and so I took 0.75 inch on the side panel and 0.5 inch on the mid panel. Then I went ahead to use my straight ruler to connect the line straight down, and then I used my curved ruler to connect from these 2 points to the bust line. Please let it not be too curvy, but yes, it's allowed to be curvy. It's a bustier, and so that part is going to shape out your bust, your under bust area properly. Now you're going to measure, you're going to put your bust dart, subtract your back from your front length, and we had 14 and 16 for the front and 14 for the back. So we went ahead to add our bust dart. Then you determine the depth of your yoke. For me, I came down from my shoulder line by 6 inches, and I drew a 6-inch line, or a straight line rather. So you can go ahead and do that. Then you go on your shoulder from the neck width to the shoulder tip, and you divide that by 2. Connect that to your bust line. Now for the overbust tightening, I am so sorry, I don't know what happened to that video. I looked for it and I have not seen it. So queens, what I did here was I took 0.5 inch on the side and 0.75 on the center, all from that shoulder line that we extended into the dart point, into the bust line. Then I tightened my underbust. So you just connect those points straight to your bust line, and then you go ahead and you add that dart back on your armhole area so you don't have a shortage on your yoke. This is very important, queens. Please note this. So I went ahead to do that. After adding that back, I use my curve to connect that point back to my armhole. Again, this is out of camera and I am so sorry. Back to the armhole, just place your curve and you connect it with your curve back to the armhole on the chest line, and then you blend up the sides. Now, queens, I want you to pay attention. I had cut out the back at this point, so I went ahead to use my tracing wheel to trace all my lines, onto the other part of this paper. Remember that this paper is on fold, and the yoke is not the same thing on both sides. So that's why we're tracing this. Just watch this so you can understand what I did. So you trace out all your lines, every line that you know is important, so you don't have to come back to this point, because we're going to open this up and draw out the same thing on the other side of the paper. That's why we're tracing. So you finish tracing, you can see the armhole that I connected at that point and the dots that we added, so you can do likewise. So you go ahead and you trace, and then queens, you go ahead and you draw out all your lines. You can just see me doing that here, as you can see them on the paper that you have already traced out. Draw out every single line using your curves, using your straight ruler where necessary. You can see the armhole extension thing that we did on the other side. You can see the neckline that I traced out. Yes, my curve was not working for it, so I had to use my hand to sketch it. You can see the underbust tightening. You can see the connection down to the waistline. So queens, I went ahead to extend my dart line. That's that your bust span divided by 2. I extended that line up to my chest line on the second side. Now that is just supposed to serve as a guide. So I went up from the chest line by 2 inches. This is my alteration of this. You can choose to do 2.5 or even 3 inches so that it is higher than this. And then I connected that to the um first overbust tightening of the other part of this paper. Now the other part is coming, is the second part is supposed to come straight into the armhole. I mistakenly connected it to the wrong area, so I had to come and correct myself. That's why you can see me drawing 2 lines here. So ignore the first line and use the one that connects straight into the armhole. Now what I did again, I went up by 2 inches. You can do 2.5 or 3. Connected that point to the overbust tightening of the first overbust tightening of the other side, and then the second part of this our 2 inches, which is for this side of the paper, comes straight into the armhole. So please note that. I hope that you understand this. Please feel free to ask your questions in the comment section, as well as any other tutorials you would like me to film for you, and I'll be more than excited to do that for you. So let's head on to the next part of this tutorial. So queens, you're going to go ahead and from that your shoulder line that you extended into your bust point, on this your new neckline that we just formed, yoke line, you're going to tighten your over bust by 0.5 inch on both sides. Now this is happening on the new line that we have formed. You remember that we have formed a new style line, so you can see what I'm doing. Just follow through, and then I'm using the straight part of my curve to connect this back to the bust point. So that part is going to be cut out. That's why I'm shading it. And then I use my curved ruler to just adjust it, just blend it in so that it's not too straight, because it's a bit curvy. But when you're doing this, it should be almost straight, just a little curve. I don't know how to explain this, but just watch the video, and when you practicalize, you would understand what I am saying. So at this point we're done and we're going to be cutting. I've left this cutting part not so fast so that you can understand how I'm cutting this out. So you're going to cut out your yoke first. So remember, as you see me cut that out, I'm closing the bust dart on the other side. Remember that this side is also supposed to have a bust dart, so I'm going to impute this while we're cutting. But you close your bust dart and ensure that you keep that the upper part of this for your yoke because it's part of your yoke. So Queens, you can see how I closed the bust dart and then I blended in that line so that you don't have a shortage when you are working on your dress. So you use your scotch tape to close your dart when you fold it. So we're cutting, you can see when you cut that first part, it's for your yoke, please keep it aside, you're going to use it. Now you go ahead and cut through your neckline. You're also cutting through your shoulder slant, and then please watch how I cut this part. So you can see I stopped. You can see where I stopped, right? I stopped on the chest line, and then I just followed the new line that we connected into the armhole, and I cut out for my yoke. Please, if you didn't get this, please watch it again and again, and you will understand it. So you can see what I did for the other side. Now you take your tape and you join. You know that the yoke we slash through our shoulder line. So you take your cello tape and you join, and then you would have your complete yoke. And at this point, I went ahead to keep on cutting. You slash through your dart line, and then you close your bust dart. That's the next thing you're doing for the cutting of this part. And then you're cutting out all the darts that you removed, all your tightening. You're cutting everything out. You're also going ahead to cut this side so you don't have shortages. Now you can see that I had a small space in between there. So we're going to come back and I'm going to show you what to do with that place. So I was just trying to match this up to see that it matched. That's the advantage of pattern drafting anyway. So we're continuing with our cutting. I believe that you've gotten a hang of how to cut this. So you can see how this aligns, right? So you put your underbust to underbust, bust to bust, and the upper part to the upper part. Your yoke is complete. You don't have any shortages on your yoke. Now, on the other side that has our complicated style line, let me call that this so that you go ahead and you just put your bust to bust, under bust to cello tape and put everything together, and you will see your bust cup literally form before your eyes. Then you can see that place. So I think you should try this, put everything together so you can see if there are any faults, any shortages. This is where you fix it. So you can see that. And I went ahead to put the other side together, the other side of the style line, and you can see the shortage there. So I went ahead to get extra pattern paper. I joined it together using the cello tape, of course, and then put the paper under it. Use my marker to blend that out. So you can see what we're doing there. So you can just see how I added that paper, right? So just watch closely. You can see how I'm blending this. So we're covering up the shortage. That's exactly what we're doing. So you can see our shortage is fixed. Then you go ahead and you separate it. You just cut and separate your panels. So you can see what we have. This is what you have when you make your dress. So at this point, we are going to begin to separate this because we're preparing for the cutting. Now the cutting video will be too long if I add it to this, so I'm going to upload that as a separate video. So please, if you're yet to subscribe to my channel, kindly click on the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell, and be on the lookout for my posts and my updates because this will come out within the next few hours, 24 to 48 hours. Let's leave it at that. And so you separate this, basically place on your fabric and cut out. The cutting of all the other parts is going to be captured in the cutting video, and so I look forward to having you watch that as well. So queens, let's head on to the back. For the back of this, first up I close up my back dart. If you don't want to close yours up, that is fine. I don't like stress. Anyway, let's keep on with this. So queens, I came down from the shoulder line by 6 inches and on the center back by 8 inches, and I connected all of these in a slant line up into the armhole. So you're going to use your curved ruler to connect that line so that it's not too straight. And I went ahead to just mark out the directions for cutting this yoke, and I cut it out on the curved line, not the straight line. Now to the center back, you're going to be adding 1.5 for your zipper stand. You can do 1 inch, but after meantime, after turning your lining, you have only ½ inch for your zip. That's a bit risky, so 1.5 is fine. Now you just make sure you draw out the directions which everything should face so that you don't end up mixing this up, and you cut this out. So in our next video, we're going to be cutting and sewing this beautiful dress. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.